Hello, everyone. Welcome to episode 11 of the Flow University YouTube channel. How do you begin to personalize fitness after you have ventured far down the pathway and you're looking to make things a little bit more easy and convenient for yourself? And in today's episode, I will be giving 5 keys to help you, the viewer, in personalizing your fitness. Every single person is unique. The way your body is structured is unique. The way you operate is unique. The current environment that you're in is unique. Your current life circumstances from past, present to future has been, shall be, and will be unique as well. So not everyone can have fitness put into the same box. You have to place fitness and make fitness work for you instead of it being the other way around and you working for fitness. In today's modern society, a lot of individuals tend to fall into the trap of working for fitness and putting their resources into the pockets of others and having that be how they contextualize and relate to fitness. Over the last couple of episodes, I've been delving deep into the mental and the more spiritual realms, but in today's episode, I will be focusing a little bit on the physical, but in specifically how we can use fitness to our advantage as human beings. I hope you guys enjoyed this week's episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. How do you personalize your fitness? Let's get started. Competency is more valued than seniority. Knowledge is more useful than status. Edward Beck, Spiral Dynamics. This goes into key number 1. When you want to begin to personalize fitness, knowledge plus experience. From the day you were born, from the second you came out of your mother's womb, from that very moment, you have been gathering knowledge about yourself, knowledge about the external environment, and knowledge about how you can relate to the external environment. But not just that, but how you can maximize your chances for survival. And even more so, how can you fully express yourself and live out your desires? And from that first day, even before, while you were in your mother's womb, you have been gaining experience. Now, you might not be consciously aware of the experiences you've been gathering, but even on a subconscious level, there are things that your body and your mind and your senses and your awareness have been picking up. So when you begin to, and you want to personalize your fitness, you need to take a step back and view things from a broader perspective and say, okay, what do I currently know? Now, there are things you know, then you have the things you don't know, and you don't know them, but then you have the unknown unknowns. And so when you begin to personalize fitness, what you want to do is you want to take a key and be like, okay, this is what I know so far about my current body, how it operates, how it's structured, where I want to go, where I'm currently going, and then what do I don't know? And you can either hire someone to teach you the things you don't know. You can either go learn those things yourself, or you can keep doing what you've been doing. And a lot of individuals, what I see in the gym environment, they'll be in the gym for 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12 months. And they might be doing the same workouts. They might be doing things a little bit differently, but in whatever case, they see no progress. And what will happen is that they'll go and they'll buy programs online, or they'll listen to experts online, or they'll have things that they've done in the past and they continue to do those things. And so they become trapped in their box of knowledge. And so what you want to do is when you relate to knowledge appropriately, what happens is that you begin to realize that everything is knowledge. And so in a more higher perspective, that you can always continue to learn, grow, and progress. And so when that happens, then you don't fall into ideologies, you don't fall into viewpoints, you don't fall into just simply looking at things from one way and one vantage point. So for example, a lot of people, for whatever reason, they hate CrossFitters, but the energy the toxicity that's displayed towards CrossFitters is because more so that people are insecure about themselves. But a lot of people will use the argument that CrossFitters, it's no science, it's pseudoscience, they don't know what they're doing, It's just a bunch of people doing mindless workouts, and to a standpoint that has a little bit of legitimacy. But what people fail to realize is that they aren't viewing things from a more in-depth perspective. Because when you view things from a more in-depth perspective and you go to a realm of knowledge or a place and you delve a little bit deeper, then you get more of the substance. And so when you really dive into, and I'm just using CrossFit for an example here, when you truly dive into CrossFit, what you realize is that they're trying to maximize their physical capabilities and abilities. And to a degree, that's all fitness is. Fitness is one's capability and ability to engage in a specific behavior or action over a unspecified duration of time. That's what fitness is. And so CrossFitters want to maximize this. But what happens is that a lot of people is that they'll have their knowledge, vantage point, and viewpoint, and they'll put a line if anything tries to go past that. But for you, the individual, when you want to personalize your fitness, you cannot operate from this perspective, because what will happen is that you'll take on certain habits, you'll take on certain things that might be detrimental to you. And so when you begin to relate to knowledge appropriately, view that everything is knowledge, and even if there's things that you disagree with, there is something that can be learned from it, and there's a great amount of knowledge that can be gained from it. And so now what you do is, instead of relating from knowledge in terms of the past knowledge, now you take on the past, present, and the future. You take on all of it, and then you say, okay, now instead of viewing fitness as you're sitting down at a 5-course meal and you have what you get from the menu and you can't get anything else. No, if you ordered a steak, you're getting a steak, and this is the amount of steak you're getting. But in some of these restaurants you might go to, you don't know how big the steak's going to be. You might get a little bit of steak, you might get a big steak, or they might throw in a little bit of mashed potatoes, a lot of mashed potatoes, and then you might pay more money, might pay more bang for your buck for a little bit of something. And so what you want to do is you want to act like fitness is a buffet. And so when you go to a buffet, you have complete control, right? So you go, you pay a little entry, and then they have all the food lined up. And now it's like, okay, do I want steak? Do I want a salad? Do I want pizza? Do I want this, that, or this? And so what'll happen is now you take out things, not just what you want, but also things that you need, right? So it's like a prerequisite, right? So it's like, go with the fundamentals. And so when you stick with the fundamentals, then you're like, okay, individualization, specificity. Okay, now I need other things to add to my plate. Then you need water, right? You need recovery. You need that community, and then you need training. But once you have those things in line, now everything else after that is completely up to you. So in your mind's eye for a second, we're gonna create a little diagram. This is just for the physical plane. There's the mental and the spiritual plane, but this is a quick mental model that you can place in your mind for that when you begin to personalize fitness. I created this over the last couple of years, but I'm pretty sure that in the fitness industry and in the health and wellness industry and in sports performance, exercise science, physiology, there's other people that probably view things from this lens, but I created a model and I created the 4 quadrants of fitness. And this is very important for you, the individual, because when you don't have these 4 things in alignment, what will happen is that you'll see negative results. You won't see progress, or you'll see you going in the opposite direction. This is why they'll be going to the gym every day and they'll start putting on weight even though they've been working out for whatever. And then you'll see people and they're like, man, I've been, consistent with my diet. Why am I not seeing the progress? You might hit a plateau. So in your mind's eye, I want you to imagine there's a square, right? And then I want you to divide that square into 4 different sections. And so the section up here to, I guess it would be my upper right, but it would be your upper left. So in your upper left, that is training, right? The name of that quadrant is training. Then I want you to go to your right, my left, and in that quadrant, that's community. That's human connection. Then I want you to go down. That's recovery. And then from there to the right, that's nutrition. So each one of those is a can of worms, but you're the can opener. And so what you do is, now I've just given you four. Those are four. Each one of those is a realm of knowledge. And so a lot of times individuals, they're never able to personalize fitness. They're never able to make great progress in fitness is because they might know a little bit about training, a little bit about nutrition, nothing about recovery, and then they have no community. But what you want to do is, if you want to see the max results, the max gains, you want to maximize each of these quadrants. You want to maximize training. You want to maximize your nutrition. You want to maximize your recovery. And you want to maximize that psychosocial connection in a positive manner. There are negative communities. If you're in a negative community, this could be hindering you. So you want to make sure all of those are in alignment. Now, there's a mental field and there's a spiritual field, because what you'll learn is that in sticking with key number one is that fitness isn't just predicated on the physical body. In a true essence, fitness is a concept. Fitness is a mechanism that we humans use to progress and develop ourselves. So you can have physical fitness, mental fitness, and spiritual fitness. So it can elevate. And so you want to, but this will come with time as you gain more knowledge. Now, experience helps with this, because knowledge plus experience equals understanding. Now, to a certain degree. Now, you have some individuals where they can just gain, this is why when you go to college, they make you do labs, they make you do workshops, they make you go to and do projects. Because if you're just sitting in a classroom all day, learning the material, and you never have a chance to apply it, a chance to test it out, or a chance to gain competency from it, then what will happen is that, do you truly understand the material? Do you truly understand what's being said? So for you, the individual, let's say you've been watching all of the famous IG fitness influencers, and you've read a couple books and you listen to a couple podcasts, but you've never tried any of the stuff. You never engaged with the experience of going through the stuff. Like for me personally, before this podcast, I haven't eaten today, right? I've done intermittent fasting for years, and I've seen positive and negative things based on my unique body, and I've seen changes to my physiology. I've seen changes to how my body functions and operates. And when I go too far, it can be a little negative. When I go when I find the sweet spot, it's very positive. But it depends on the individual. I take cold showers. When I take cold showers, I feel my entire body relax. Now, each person is a little bit different. So it's gaining the experience to see, okay, what is right, what is wrong, and how does this relate to me? Because in science is they come up with a hypothesis, they formulate an experiment, and then they get a bunch of test subjects. They run tests, then they get the results from those tests. Then they take the results, then have a quick discussion to see, all right, what happened in it, and then they come to a conclusion based off of that. That's the scientific method. And if you read any research paper, it actually goes like this. It starts with an abstract, it goes to introduction, then it goes to method, then it goes to discussion, and then it ends with a conclusion. So in the same way, the problem with that sometimes is that it doesn't identify with everyone. So there can be a little bit of variability, but the variability isn't enough to deal with certain anomalies or people in every single circumstance or people in every single position or aspect. And so I was watching a podcast the other day, and this individual was speaking about, how certain people in certain socioeconomic statuses, how when they relate to fitness, there's no point in them relating to fitness. There's no point in them exercising. There's no point in them in them, maximizing their health and their wellness, because it's not really going to do anything. They're at the bottom of the totem pole. But for me, like, I'll get a little personal here. There's periods in my life where I was homeless when I was young, when I was anywhere from literally from like 0 to 10 years old. I got adopted when I was 10. From 0 to 10 years old, I was homeless. And one of the things that they don't talk to you about, the reason I gave you guys those quadrants, and I apologize for key number 1 being so important, but this key is extremely important because if you get this, the amount of progress you'll see is unfathomable. And so the impact that nutrition has on your body cannot be spoken in words. Think about this. Everything in the universe is connected. So if you're putting heavily processed foods into your body and then you're consuming that, every time, like, there's a cause and effect. There's a give and a take, right? There's a yin and a yang. So when you put something negative into your body, when you put something toxic into your body, what does the body have to do in order to get that toxicity out of it? Your body has to focus energy, resources on getting whatever it is, the heavily processed food, unprocess it, and then get it out of your body. So the energy, the nutrients, the capacity of your body is being spent digesting food, and then your body's not getting all the adequate nutrients that it needs to maximize all of its other, not just vital functions, but its cognitive functions as well. So when you eat heavily processed foods, or when you eat food that the body isn't naturally used to eating, what will happen is that this will take away from other aspects of your body, namely the brain. I want you right now to touch the 4 corners of your skull, right? When, like, there's multiple intelligences in the body. Science has proven this. You're not just thinking in your mind, you're thinking in other areas. The entire body has to think, because the entire body has to fight off pathogens. It has to fight off potential viruses. It has to deal with what's going on in the external environment, proprioception. It has to deal with what's going on internally. Is there, an imbalance? Is there things going on? And so a lot of times the disease and a lot of these things are happening is because the body is lacking something, or your body's in an environment where it can't operate at its max capacity. And so when it comes to when you're eating heavily processed foods, the body is focusing down there. It's focusing in the gut. They talk about, and there's a lot of research going on the gut microbiome. And if you're eating heavily processed foods, that's where your energy, that's where your intelligence is focusing on. So imagine for a second, and I just want you to think about this, we'll do this from first principles. What would happen if you ate unprocessed foods and your body knew how to process it as efficiently as possible? What will happen is that now your body's more efficient down here, so now it's distributing the nutrients adequately around to the other places of your body. So now other areas of your body will increase in their processing and then in their efficiency as well. This namely goes to the brain, right? So what is IQ, right? So now we're gonna start with first one. What is IQ? IQ is just your raw ability to process data. So think about this for a second. If I eat unprocessed foods and it increases my body's effectiveness at processing information, then would that not in return help my brain in processing information as well? You just increase your IQ by just changing one aspect of the fitness quadrant. Now, to the degree and how much it increases, I don't know. For every individual, it's different. But from firsthand experience, this will work. And a lot of times, you'll go online, you'll Google it, and you'll read research papers. And the problem is that in scientific communities, in academic communities, and in the modern educational system, is that it isn't set up to teach people the truth and to give people tangible action steps, because you have to understand that everyone in those fields they're fighting for positions, they're fighting for resources. And so they want to make it as hard and as complex as possible, because if we just let these people through, then all of our jobs are going to get taken. And now a whole bunch of people are going to get mad because they done lost their job, their money, and the position they're in. You have to understand a lot of people, this is their livelihood. So I'm not telling you to distrust or be untrusting, but in the same degree, you have to understand that that doesn't mean that that's the truth. Truth has to be discovered by you, the individual. There's a lot of reason why I'm coming out with these episodes, because a lot of things I have discovered, a lot of things I have personally gone through, has led to profound realizations that can't be realized by if you just Googled, listened to people, and just took their advice. You're gonna go nowhere. You're gonna get no progress. You're gonna stay right where you're at, and that's what a lot of people want. A lot of people don't want you, the individual, to progress. They don't want you, the individual, to see changes. They don't want you as an individual to grow because you might become a threat to them. That's how insecure humans are. Humans, if you focus on human nature, humans are so insecure that one individual becoming like them is terrifying to them. And so they don't want to see other humans win because it might lead to them losing. But there are no people that understand there's enough to go around for everyone. There's no such thing as losers. It's something we humans has crafted in order to create a sort of hierarchy so that humans can gain a sense of confidence, satisfaction, and fulfillment for being better than other people. So for you, the individual, that experience is very important. I would do, and when it comes to diet, for a quick brief moment, when you begin to personalize things, you never want to, I hear people talk about all the time, like, I tried this diet, I tried that diet, I tried this diet. I don't believe in diets at all. Diet is like a Band-Aid on a gashing wound. The problem isn't the diet. The problem is that your lack of knowledge as a human and experience. Because for me now, I've been focusing on my nutrition so long, for so many years, that I can literally go into a restaurant that has nothing but trash food and get out of there and I ate some very healthy stuff. And it doesn't mean that it was a salad. Understanding carbs. What are carbs? Understanding what is protein. Understanding what is fat, what is good fat, what is unhealthy fat. Understanding micronutrients. Understanding seasonings. Understanding different condiments, understanding like how many calories could potentially be in this, and understanding and tracking that. So now it's like, all right, I might go out to this restaurant and it might be, this comes with experience. I might go out to this restaurant, and this restaurant, I can eat healthy food, but even though the food I'm eating is healthy, it's still going to cost me 1,500 calories. So maybe when I wake up in the morning, me knowing, you have to increase your consciousness to do this. This is why all the other episodes of the Flow University channel is extremely important, because it builds to this. Once you get to this level, you don't have to hire a trainer. You don't have to waste money. You don't even need a gym. It's just you have that pure understanding of what you need to do in order to maximize your health and your wellness. Once you get to that level, it's game over. You could literally, you could go on vacation and be good. I hear people all the time, man, I'm going on vacation in 5 weeks. I need to get in the best shape of my life. It's like, you don't got to get in the best shape of your life. You just got to know what to do so that when you're on vacation, you don't gain 15, 20 pounds. But I think what happens is that a lot of individuals, because they don't have the knowledge and the experience, they go into these situations and they just want to turn off. They don't want to think no more. But if you gain knowledge and experience, what will happen is that now you can go anywhere. You know you're good. It doesn't take a lot of mental, prowess or thinking and none of this. You can just go with the flow. You can have that cup of wine and be all right. You can have that steak. There's nothing wrong with steak. You can have this fine hors d'oeuvre, and it's absolutely good for you because you know what you need to do on either the counter side or in the pregame or just through the thick of it in order to be all right. So going into key number 2, this is wisdom. So once you, what is wisdom? So once you have knowledge and experience, and the real wisdom comes when, even though you don't agree with someone, you're willing to listen to them and you're willing to take their advice. Real wisdom comes when you are able to accept that there's a possibility that you can be completely wrong and that you might not know anything. That's where wisdom comes in. Wisdom is when you're always willing to pour out your cup and be refilled by new and more things. And so, wisdom it's not a thing. It's not like something. It's not a tangible object. Wisdom is a deep chasm that goes infinitely, because you can't really have wisdom, like the full scope of wisdom, unless you knew everything, and that encompasses infinity. And so when you're dealing with wisdom, and how this helps you with personalizing fitness, is that when you go into gyms, when you're dealing, and so for you, the modern individual, I have to preface and I have to really emphasize how upside down the world is for you. When you were born and you came into the world, you were born into the current structure of society. And the current structure of society might not be in the best interest of human beings, specifically the way our bodies are designed, they operate and function. So in modern society, the way it's structured, it's advanced at an incredible rate in an extremely short amount of time. And the detrimental effect this will have on you, the human being, is that you're essentially being, it's like if you guys play Call of Duty, or if you play, we'll use GTA. We'll use GTA. So you log into GTA and you just log into the game. You might be, in the middle of the map. You might be down the street. You might be in the left corner. You might get spawned into your apartment. You don't know where you're going to get spawned. You don't know where you're going to get spawned. You don't know the situation. You don't know the players that are going on. You don't know what's up. You got to figure all that out. And so that's how you as a human are born into the world. And when you come into the world, you have, you're just spawned in here, and then, there's a whole bunch of players around, and then, you have different guides and stuff that are kind of trying to help you out. But to a higher degree, you really have to figure things out. Even the best guides in the world can't really like this. This is why I'm giving you keys. Like, I'm giving you the keys, but you still have to open the door and walk through it. And then once you get through the door, there's still that deep chasm. And you just you have to jump, because once you truly realize what's going on, then you take a step back. You're like, okay, hold up. How long have phones been around? Well, phones have been around for maybe 30 years. But we as humans have existed for hundreds of thousands of years. No, 10,000, something like that. I apologize. I was wrong. TVs, cars, 5G, airplanes. Go to the airport and watch an airplane take off and think that's only been around for maybe like a good 100 years. That'll let you know that the world we as humans are living in, it is so completely different from what it was just 100 years ago. And in the past, yes, innovation, it gradually gets faster and faster and faster. But in the past, you were like, well, in the past, like they saw innovation. Yes, they saw innovation, but it wasn't like this. The innovation we were seeing as humans, it's leading to people, we're innovating so fast as humans that we've disconnected from nature. But now people have disconnected with their bodies. So you see, it's almost like a chopping off. So for you as a human, what you must do is you must reestablish all of the connections. The first connection you must reestablish is the one with nature. The next connection you must reestablish is the one with your body. Then you must master the mind, and then you can have that spiritual prowess. But this will come with wisdom, because when you have wisdom, then you'll be able to see, oh, I know, or I have an inclination of what could possibly be going on, because I've listened and I've taken in what people have told me and from different things, and I've learned from all things, and my cup is being filled, and I'm not putting a lid on the cup. It's just filling and filling and filling. And so now you're gaining more awareness, you're gaining more consciousness. You're able to see some of the things that could be hindering you, some of the things that could be detrimental to you. And then you lean back and you're like, all right, cool. Let's do this. Let's take a step back. And so when it comes to personalizing your fitness, what this will help you with is you'll realize, I told a client this one time, the client of mine, he just bought a house and he had a garage in his house, and he was going to be living like 30 minutes away. I was training him. He was like, yeah, I don't think we could do this anymore. It's a little bit too far to drive. I was like, no worries, dog. It's fine. No hard feelings. But he was telling me that he was looking for a gym to sign up for. And I told him, I was like, you don't need a gym. He's like, you could literally just put one in your garage. And he was like blew his mind. And I was like, nah, dog, like literally, like you could buy a rack, buy a barbell, buy a couple kettlebells, buy a rower. It won't be, relatively speaking, you're not breaking the bank for this. And now you got a gym. Even more so, the entire earth is a gym. I'm gonna blow your minds. But if you go and you watch monkeys online swinging in the trees, what are they doing? They're doing fitness. Actually, let's take it a step further. What is any animal doing when it's doing its thing? It's fitness. Because what they're doing is they're showcasing capability, ability over a set duration of time. They're doing fitness. So when you stick to that principle, when it comes to you doing your fitness, keep that in mind, and you can do fitness anywhere. So going into key number 3, bad versus good advice. And so bad advice comes from people who have no knowledge, no experience, and they're not experts. And you see this all the time in social media. Like social media for you people, I would not get, unless you're just going for, just a couple exercises, maybe a how to do video, maybe you're looking for like a quick, easy recipe. But if you want some of the more in-depth stuff, social media is not the place for you. I would go on YouTube's good. YouTube, because the problem with some of these platforms like TikTok, Instagram's so sometimes on Instagram it's all right, because on Instagram you can have longer form content. On Facebook you get more of an older crowd, but even then, like, people aren't like they got shorts and stuff. The problem is the attention span, and so it's hard for a human to really grasp a concept in anything less. Like, you can't grasp a concept in like 90 seconds. Yeah, like, speed is fine, but like, if you're just going fast, when you go to make that turn and then, I didn't see that brick right there, and now it pops your tire, and now you're flipping and you're rolling in the sky. It was like, dang, if I just slowed down a second to just really digest what was going on, I might have seen that brick there, and I might not have hit it. I might not have rolled around, spiraled out of control, and just totaled my car. So for you, the human, you need to watch longer form content. You need to digest more in-depth material that goes into this stuff, especially if you really want to understand fitness, because then you're not just going to get a bunch of, like, now this will help you with understanding and wisdom, because now you'll be able to see the bad from the good advice. I would seek out experts. I wouldn't like, there's nothing wrong with the influencers on social media. They're making their money, nothing wrong with that. But you have to understand that they're influencers. And that's not fitness. It's not the full, like, it's an aspect, it's a piece, it's a subset, but that's not the full thing of what fitness is. And so for you, the human, like, you take a step back and be like, all right, cool, like, that's a subset of fitness, but that's not all of fitness. And I don't have to necessarily do that or be like that. And then I'll take a step forward. I'm gonna have a lot of people in the industry hate me, because what you're seeing isn't actually a display of what's going on. So you see this person, and like, let's say you click on so-and-so's Instagram, you're like, man, they got a banging body, man, they got these workouts. But let me tell you, what's going on the outside doesn't showcase what's going on the inside. So someone on the outside could look a certain way, but on the inside, it's complete garbage. And this doesn't just have to do with the physical and operating functions of their body, but this can just go with their mental game. So when you're watching these people, you need to have discernment, and you need to truly see what's going on. Because when you truly see, then you take a step back. All right, cool. Like, I would have an inquisitiveness, and I would have a slight degree of suspicion. Okay, cool. Like, let's look at this person. All right, cool. Is this something that's realistically tangible for a human? Because I'll tell you this, after I've gone through the process of maximizing my health and my wellness and my physical capabilities, one thing I have learned is that there's so many people online that are on drugs, that are taking crazy gear, that aren't preaching what they're saying, that are taking, and doing all types of stuff that would be incredibly bad for you, that you shouldn't be doing. And I tell people this all the time. Like, if you want to learn, I would more so you go on the process and the journey of learning it yourself and actually doing some of the things and trying out some of the things. Like, let's talk about ashwagandha. So I learned about ashwagandha. I watched a social media post. It was on Instagram. And then I watched a more longer form content on YouTube. And I was like, let me try this out, because everyone's talking about ashwagandha. And so I started taking ashwagandha, and I took it for it was like the first 2 weeks, I saw no change. I was like, this is a placebo. But after about 3 or 4 weeks, which it was the right time span for me to wait because of general adaptation syndrome, I saw profound changes in my cardiorespiratory system. I saw that I was able to breathe like extremely well. My lungs were able to expand. I was able to breathe through my nose through large bouts of cardio. And so when you as a human, when you are willing to go through the experience of things, then that will give you more of an eye to realize what is good versus bad advice. And so good advice is usually when it comes through someone that has done it, someone that has done, in-depth research, experts, people that can like back up what they're saying. So a lot of times individuals will say something and it's kind of like, where are you getting this from? But it's like, no, you got someone that can back it up. So for me, like a lot of information I watch Andrew Huberman, Andy Galpin, Paul Chek. I watch a lot of, there's a physical therapy YouTube channel I watch. I listen to a lot of, his name's Ben Polkowski. He's a retired bodybuilder. He got like second place a couple times at Mr. Olympia. Very good, very knowledgeable. And you want to find people like that because those people, they know their stuff. And so what I'm doing is I'm giving you guys the full scope of what's going on so that you don't get played and so that you don't go down these like narrow pathways and end up going off on bad tangents, because you don't want to waste time, because you as a human, the most valuable thing you probably have is time. So if you spend 5 years going down this negative road, right, that's just 5 years you lost. And let's say you live to 100, you just lost 5 years of your life. Now you got 95 left. So it's like time is money. Like it's literally, it's very true. So you don't want to waste your time. It'll lead to bad circumstances for you. And so key number 4, the goal is understanding. That's what I've been building up this entire episode. This is what it means to personalize fitness. You want to gain understanding, because when you have understanding, you won't have to waste time, money, or energy doing things that are not going to help you in whatever goal, desire, or outcome that you want, even if you're doing competition for sports. Just the other day, I met a guy. He's a freshman at University of Maryland. He's playing football, and I was telling him I was in there at like 11 o'clock. He's in there too. We're sitting there training. I'm like, man, this is dope. He's getting his fitness in late at night, and he's showcasing character. And I looked at him and I was like, hey man, like you're on the right track. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep learning. Keep growing. Keep progressing. And I was telling him, I was like, this is when you gain understanding, because he was like, man, he was a walk-on and now he's trying to get a scholarship. And I told him, I was like, hey man, like, you know what you know, and you have, going back to what I said earlier in the episode, but there's the unknown unknowns. But those unknown unknowns will become more clear the more you're willing to step out into the unknown. And so, he said that his team was going to play in another game. And I told him, but you're here working out. You're here growing and progressing yourself. You're here getting better. And if you keep doing that, a lot of people who aren't doing this, you're going to see way more progress in them. So you're trying to figure out, okay, how do I get the scholarship? Or how do I get to a position where I can potentially maybe go to the NFL or maybe do this professionally? Hey, you're going to have to do things that you originally didn't think that you should be doing. You might have to do exercises that you're like, man, I never thought about doing this. You might have to eat things that you thought, man, I never thought about eating this. Because here's the thing, all of the resources and knowledge are at the top of society, right? And so there's a lot of things up there that slowly trickle down. But if you knew all those things, then you would be immediately doing it. Like what I just divulged about you, about how eating processed foods could potentially affect your IQ. People at the top know this. Doctors know this. So this will really affect you, and this will really help you out in having that understanding. Going to key number 5, just to wrap this up, practicality equals innovation. So this is where you don't want to reinvent the wheel. A lot of times you'll see, and people have to understand, the fitness industry is growing and growing and growing and growing. And one of the main attractors to the fitness industry is that a lot of people get into the fitness industry because they see it's a growing industry and they see the money that can be made out of it, not because they're the most competent or the most qualified to be within the industry. So what you'll see is you'll see people enter the industry because there's like, oh man, fitness industry is a growing industry. It's about $30 billion. But then at the same time, you have these people entering the space and they don't really train. They don't work out at all. They don't really know too much about nutrition. They have no inkling of what a healthy recovery process is. And they might be a part of a community, but it has nothing to do with fitness. And so what you'll see happen is that you'll see people begin to divulge information, give knowledge, or give their opinion on things. But this opinion is essentially, they're just trying to create niches and spheres for themselves so that they can get followers, so that they can put money in their pocket, so that they can make a living. Now, again, there's nothing wrong with this, right? But for an individual, you have to understand this. And so going back to other keys, if you understand this, when you see that new flashy thing, now you're like, okay, cool, I'm gonna do this flashy thing, but this is just one plug in a whole system that I'm using. And so now, instead of you falling into the trap of, the innovation, quotation marks, the innovation that might lead to, a negative circumstance for yourself, now you see, okay, how can I engage with this new thing, but it actually worked for me? So for example, like let's say like you have the foundational aspects of a car. You have the engine, you have the steering wheel, you have tires, and then you have the exhaust pipe. Everything after that, it's kind of like throw up. You need it. You don't need it. Depends. But at the very least, all right, the car will run, and I can move this thing. That's all you need. Oh, and a gas pedal. That's all you really need. So the outer sphere of the car, the make and model of the car, that could be. You could change that. The tires of the car you can change, and it can change based on the environment. It can change based off of what you want it to specifically do. You can change, like, let's say you want to do off-roading. All right, cool. You need this make, this model, this tire. You need this type of fuel. All right, cool. You got a truck. All right, you need diesel. You need some big tires. You need all that, and you might need my boy's gonna kill me because I'm not gonna say this right. You need a tailgate rig. I messed it up. I apologize, bro, if you watch this. But at the same, or you might have a sports car. Sports car, small, sleek, fast. So for you, the human, it operates the same way, right? You have the fundamentals that you need, but then after that, depending on the environment, depending on your circumstances, now you can nice it up and you can split it up. So make sure you're doing things that are practical in that aren't just leading to the flash in the outer sphere, because then you're going to mess up the fundamentals. So like people see cars getting repossessed all the time and getting, they're pulling back cars and stop making models because they didn't focus on the fundamentals. And so you buy this car and, the tires are messed up, right? Or, they gotta recall them because the brakes aren't working on all the models. And so that means that they weren't focused on the fundamentals. They were focused on the innovation aspect of it. Oh man, we made the car more fuel efficient. We made the car smaller. We made the car faster, but we didn't stick with the things that are actually going to make the car safe. So for you, the human, when you're personalizing your fitness, stick with things that are actually going to be practical for you. Hey, maybe the most practical thing isn't for you to be in the gym for three hours, but everyone's doing powerlifting now, so you want to do powerlifting. That doesn't mean you have to be in the gym for 3 hours. That just means, hey, you got to do a couple of movements. That don't mean nothing. So make this work for you, and like you'll see so much progress. Well, that's all I have for you guys today in this episode of the Flow University YouTube channel. I hope you guys have enjoyed. Use these keys to truly help you out and to navigate within the world of fitness, but not just the world of fitness, within the outer world and the more broader world as well, because there's so much for you guys to learn. There's so much going on. There's things that are going on behind the scenes that you guys don't know about. There's all these new technologies, all these new gadgets that are being displaced on us as humans, and we have to be awake and aware and fully conscious so that we do not become slaves to these things, but that we become the masters of them. In the last episode, I talked about you do not want to have the horse be the master. You want to be the master and ride the horse. Continue to do so, and you'll continue to see amazing growth and progress. You all enjoy the rest of your day and stay blessed.